To the young people of the nation, I must speak a word tonight. You are going to have a great opportunity. There will be high moments in which your strength and your ability will be tested. I have faith in you. I feel as though I was standing upon a rock. That rock is my faith in my fellow citizens.
What you just heard was an excerpt from an address given by Eleanor Roosevelt, former First Lady, on her radio program Over Our Coffee Cups. Now, I find this address particularly moving. In fact, it's brought me to tears. Now, if you're thinking, why is this address so moving? Well, it's partly because of when she gave it. Roosevelt gave this address on December 7th, 1941, the day that Japanese airplanes attacked the military base at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii, killing not just 400 people, but 2,403 U.S. personnel, including 68 civilians. Because I know this context, Eleanor Roosevelt's words have more meaning. For example, she says, "I have a boy at sea on a destroyer, and for all I know, he may be on his way to the Pacific." She's a mother talking. Her children may be going into battle. And when she says this line, "I have faith in you. I feel as though I was standing upon a rock, and that rock is my faith in my fellow citizens," she's speaking to people who may be going to battle and who may be giving their lives. In this case, knowing the context makes her words so much more meaningful. We've asked this question, what makes for good writing? And our answers might include some of the elements here in this graphic. For example, we might say that good writing usually presents the author as being credible, that it works for its target audience and works for its intended purpose, and we might say that it has a form appropriate to its content, at least much of the time. But with all these things in mind, we can't ignore the importance of context. And by context, we mean the time and place in which a particular communication happens and the circumstances that prompted that communication. Now, sometimes context may seem sort of invisible. I mean, does a fish notice the water it's swimming in? But if we're going to understand other people's communications and communicate effectively ourselves, we have to be aware of the way a given context for communication both calls for and constrains one's speech. At certain times, certain words may be appropriate. At other times, those words may not work. Now, if you'd like, you can think of this a little bit like fashion, although there may seem to be one obvious way to dress, right? Everyone can always wear blue jeans. If we think back through time, then we realize that there were different fashions in the past, different fashions in other countries and other cultures, different fashions for different occasions, and then different fashions with different degrees of formality and informality. Now, if we don't understand the proper context, then our communication may end up being as awkward as wearing a swimsuit in a snowstorm. And context will help us understand other people's communications, whether they be, say, a political ad, or why Betty Boop is dressed differently between these two pictures. The answer, by the way, has to do with the Hays Production Code. Or why Americans are willing to go against their ideals and put Japanese American citizens into internment camps. And of course, when we understand context, we know what kind of language works for, say, a text versus a formal essay. Now, if all this seems very obvious to you, let me offer a quote by Aristotle. He said, "Anyone can become angry. That is easy. But to be angry with the right person and to the right degree and at the right time and for the right purpose and in the right way, that is not within everybody's power and is not easy."
While Aristotle's quote pretty much covers all bases of effective communication, I think it's particularly apt to our discussion here about context. How many of us have gotten angry at the wrong time and in the wrong place? We've blurted out something that we shouldn't have said that maybe would have worked better if we'd said it at a different occasion. Making our words appropriate to the occasion is a real skill worth developing.
And since we're bringing up Aristotle, let me give you another fabulous Greek word here, kairos. Kairos has some different definitions, but let's think of it as the right time or the right moment to say the right thing or take action. Timing matters in communication. Let's say you're a kid and you want a cookie. If you ask for that cookie before dinner, the timing may be wrong and your parents may say no. But if you ask for it after dinner, well, then you're more likely to get the cookie, right? At least that's the way it works with my kids. Now, timing can explain small acts of communication like this. They can also explain larger acts of communication or political movements. For example, had Germany not been economically and spiritually damaged after World War I, Perhaps Hitler would not have had success. His message appealed to people at a particular opportune time. As we think about context, then, we might add a few things to our list. Good writing usually fits into the boundaries of what's appropriate or interesting or entertaining in a given time and place. And good writing happens at the right moment. Now let me add a little caveat here at the end. You may occasionally encounter some piece of communication that is highly effective. It appeals to its audience, it gets its message across, it fits perfectly into the context of the times. However, if we're looking at, say, a cigarette ad, no matter how effective the communication is, I don't think that we can say it's good, and I mean good in the sense of moral. Similarly, we could take a look at a piece of propaganda like the 1936 Olympics and say, yes, that was effective. Those Olympics helped fool the world for just a little bit longer that Nazi Germany wasn't to be feared. But again, I don't think we can say any piece of propaganda that helps build up a terrible regime is good, no matter how effective it may be. So let's add one more thing to our list here. Good writing, not just usually, but always, makes the world a better place.